Hello, my name is SugarGaming1567. I run this channel dedicated to multiple topics such as horror, art, and theories. I look forward to making longer videos like this, and even include my real voice, when this channel reaches 5 million subscribers. I thought I'd make a formal video like this now. In fact, this video is about a long-time theory I have been thinking about for a long time. In this case, it's how William Afton has been presented over the years. Whether it be as a plot device, or as a legitimate character that is admittedly still confusing and unclear in terms of purpose or motives. Though that is partially because of how Scott chooses to write his stories as a gardener type of writer. What a gardener is a writer who plants literary seeds or concepts and keeps working on them over time until the concept is fully explored. However, the gardener can stop or end it whenever. For example, character motivations. As we've seen in novels such as The Silver Eyes, and even in the FNAF movie in comparison to the games, Afton's motivations are not ever consistent, or remain the same. Well, does this mean Scott doesn't know what he's doing? Maybe. Or is writing based on reception? What I mean by writing based on reception, is trying to see what fans are understanding based on the character, before making further installments. Hence, we see a constant flip-flop between William Afton, being sympathetic but inexcusable, a force of pure evil, or a character doing things for the plot. I do genuinely believe Scott had an arc or intention for William Afton as a character at least later in the story, but as most can see, it didn't start off that way, and Scott became too focused on what he thought fans wanted versus what he was actually trying to convey with William Afton. Which is why it can be confusing for people to wrap their heads around the character if they don't fully know who the character truly is on the inside. Why did he kill Charlotte? Did he care about his kids? If he just wanted family, why would he still harm them in games? Were his actions influenced? While a lot of these questions could be seen as unimportant, they do lay out a foundation that is necessary for figuring out other elements, such as character motivations. If you were listening, you would recognize that I brought up his desire for family in the novels. This is important, because we see the same character in the novels harm Elizabeth. A lot of people would say that, when you get something you truly wanted, you can have a harder time appreciating what you have, if it was given to you instead of earned. People also say his actions were just of his time. While this is true, and this is an unjustifiable excuse for his blatant actions, it still doesn't explain much. Why would Scott offer such an idea, if it was invalid? Would this mean that Afton just comes up with excuses to make himself feel justified in murdering kids? It's still largely unclear. It's one of those things that shows that theories or canon can be interpreted in any way that makes sense to you, since only really certain ideas remain the most important, like the Psy murders. For instance, Wilkare Willenskare can be valid, but it's also valid to say he didn't want children. By the way, what I mean by Wilkare Willenskare is not that William particularly loved kids or his own, just that he didn't hate them, or go out of his way to torture, abuse, or harm them. Basically, the average dad, especially if your dad is a mentally ill child-murdering maniac. While this can easily be denied or accepted, we can agree that William has some sort of obsession with putting things back together, such as his youngest son. A theory I have is that the changing of text colors means that William and crying child's fractured psyche was speaking to help him cope. Basically, his tormented mind was imagining his father's voice through the plush, instructing him on his own fears, such as his father and brother hated him, and left him alone on purpose. It does make sense, since William says things like kids will be kids, but wouldn't demonize himself or scare him. At least not on purpose. As we know, William has a habit of tormenting people without even direct interference or intent. We've all seen the phantoms, and how they were used in Prospect to Hudson in the books. Essentially, based off Springtrap's agonized presence, he hallucinated things that hurt him. By hurt, I mean mental or emotional distress caused by negligent parents, a romantic partner, or even just things in his daily life that caused stress or any kind of PTSD and/or trauma. While Springtrap probably had an intent to harm in that moment, I don't think he particularly had control over it. Which is a common trope for big bad characters, to literally haunt their surroundings with even just their presence, or their motives in that given moment. What remains consistent though, is the main character meant to be a parallel to Michiel, had miserable lives, experienced great loss, and trauma. Honestly, that entire book was just Springtrap tormenting Hudson mentally and physically, attacking him several times. While it is assumed that version of Springtrap is not the same as William, most interpretations is that it is. Basically, these are versions or counterparts of the same characters. What we found is honestly a great example of expressing who a character is, their motives, and what they've gone through leading up to that point, even in the context of a shorter book. I won't spoil the ending here, and I recommend you read it for yourself. If you have, be sure to comment your take. The story obviously had more to it, but for now we're moving on. You might have noticed that I've done pretty mellow or quick explanations of things, concepts, and evidence I bring up. This is because it's hard to exactly determine what is canon, or just part of a collection of content/theories. While it would be easy to state what was being shown or said, you still need to take into account if how you're using evidence is what was intended or most canon, or if it was just a nothing burger. For example, the theory that Gregory is a robot. It's old now, and was a convincing idea, but not canon. However, you still see people taking theories like that, or like Golden Duo, and treating it like canon factual lore instead of a theory. Which brings us back to how William Afton is presented in as a character. We often see people pushing their idea of his motives as canon, even when it's not confirmed. This is mainly people who think theories online they see are like the person had spoken to Scott Cawthon himself. It's important to recognize that you can like a theory, but being unable to listen to other people's take and attack them for their own conclusions is not the best. I see it a lot recently. There's a huge difference between liking William Afton as a character, or the idea of Wilkare in combination with other motives, and acting as though someone is idolizing, or using concepts to justify Afton's actions. Motives or actions are not something that are always good or always bad. And yet we still see people acting as though, if you believe in Wilkare, that you are a child abuser, or are justifying child abuse. As someone who was abused as a child, and sometimes takes inspiration from Wilkare in my own theories, it is not the case, unless they are actively defending William. The same thing applies to most situations, where this kind of behavior had occurred. This is why some creators like Scott get pressed on fan reception and end up making a lot of mistakes, and fumbling their own narrative and characters. Scott is responsible for his writing ability and so forth. That's all I really have for now for this MicroTheory and MockAnalysis. I'm planning a lot of videos, and this is a precursor to an actual upcoming theory I am still writing the script for. I'm also planning various animations, memes, and songs. Thank you for watching, stay gold, and be sure to sub.